Let me check it
Don't give me any moment to like warm up or anything. We're just going in cold.
out.
Awesome, man. All right.
Let
So,
me. Yeah. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I guess this is the second episode of the See a Crest Symbol podcast.
Hey, we haven't started yet, but we're
Oh
good.
no,
Yeah,
are we
and
live now or not?
yeah, we're live streaming, but I have the thumbnail already.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
yeah, we are live streaming as we speak.
All right. So let's better like keep it cool. Let's not say anything controversial. Too controversial.
So I think we'll probably get a little bit controversial because there's been a lot of news, right, these past few days.
Yeah, it's a lot. You know. Uh, I mean, I don't even know where to actually start because I actually did not prepare anything. You know, I'm actually a little bit sleep deprived, so we'll see how this goes. You know,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
have you read? What have you read in the news?
Um,
Um,
well, I've read that I have a few tabs here that we can possibly see, but I was hoping we could go over a little bit of um, some news from independent journalists.
all right.
Uh, I don't know if you heard of OAF Nation,
OAF. No, I'm afraid I haven't. No.
Popular Front, maybe.
Popular Front is popular.
Yeah, cool,
Good
cool.
job.
Yeah, we'll look into Popular Front and Popular Front Mexico.
Well,
We'll look at
I didn't know that they had a Mexican branch.
yeah, yeah. They have
Yeah.
a Mexican branch,
Oh my
as you could imagine.
God. Well, yeah, with all the cartels and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they're covering the most peaceful utopian society in the world.
No, those are not entertaining. You know.
Yeah, so maybe we can do that. We can go over that, catch up on Venezuela, and also I have a story. I don't know if you heard about the Taiwanese job owners, marijuana cannabis business owners that are being sued by Chinese migrants over here in New Mexico.
What?
Yeah, yeah, and it has to do with the whole how Mexican cartels have infiltrated the marijuana industry, and
Hmm.
they use illegal immigrants to work these farms, usually under
Uh.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we can go over that, but yeah, man, it looks like we're good. The
Yeah.
stream is
Like there's always a lot to be said. I also want to touch upon. I actually just finished watching like the Joe Rogan podcast. Did you see the episode with Luis Elizondo?
no, no.
Man, he's the CIA intelligence. No, sorry, Pentagon intelligence whistleblower who's actually been coming out. One of them saying that like how America actually has like non-human technology and how America is actually like trying to like reverse engineer it.
Hmm.
You know. So he actually mentions New Mexico, and I figured that you actually be interested in that.
Oh, what do you say?
I mean, there's actually government documents actually talking about how they've admitted that they've been having like observations of UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, all the way back from the 50s, And these are not like, random witnesses, like some drunk man from Roswell. Like these are like pilots, engineers, officers, like people who, you don't deny their credibility. And they've been saying that like we are observing stuff that we just don't understand, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think New Mexico definitely is not only known for Breaking Bad, but also the second to that, aliens. Me personally, I think it could have been German engineering, but because Germany had a presence, had built a presence in Roswell.
I think it's because also because New Mexico. I mean, and so many other like military bases. But New Mexico does have like nuclear weapons bases and also like aircraft development areas.
Yeah. But
And
yeah.
it seems like UFOs, and this is according to what Elizondo said. I'm also open to the idea that this whole thing is just like like a misinformation campaign, because I'm just that skeptical. But it seems that they're very attracted to like human nuclear technology.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have much commentary on that because it's so combined with esoteric philosophy, combines with technology, combines with the human history and our our civilizational past. It's so intertwined that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
over my head that I guess we'll see, right?
Like I've been going on like a deep like a rabbit hole in regards to all of that. You know, and mostly about I'm mostly interested on the stuff that members of the United States government are saying. You know, like
Mhm.
declaration from like pilots, commanders, admirals, intelligent Pentagon people, officers, from all ranks, like coming out and saying that,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's this theory saying that actually the American government is slowly actually declassifying information, but slow enough so that, once like the cat is out of the bag, there's no mass panic, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, because it seems to be that like that campaign of extraterrestrial information is starting to rise, just as the nuclear news is rising, right? Like nuclear war. Um, it seems that they're both elevating in acknowledgement amongst the public.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I was going to say that do you think New Mexico, because of its nuclear history, has a potential to be a target?
I mean, when you look at actually, for example, like the history of the Cold War and like what would be logical for like each parties to actually do in the event of nuclear warfare, the most common targets for nuclear ICBMs are usually like other nuclear bases. You know, so if your state actually has nuclear bases, out of which like nuclear ICBMs can actually be launched, you're a big risk of being at the end of such attacks. And
Sure.
New Mexico is one of those areas.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I agree because I thought about it too. I was like, not only do we have facilities that dedicate their business to the nuclear program, um, we're also have data in important information. We also have cities that are not that important in the sense of the grander United States. Say, say someone wanted to test the missile, a nuclear bomb, um, and they don't want to go to Los Angeles or New York. Why go to them first?
yeah,
Go to potential hubs.
yeah.
Test it out in Burke. Test it out in Santa Fe. Test it out.
They're targeting you, bro. You're too dangerous to be kept alive.
No, I'm not sure, man. Maybe the 505 proletariat can gather, can unite.
Yeah.
But no, man, I wanted to share the screen with you, um, just to see what your thoughts are on this. Let me know if you see it.
All right. Let's see.
Do you see the Taiwan man sued by 15 Chinese?
No, I haven't. I don't see it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Let me also check that the live is going okay.
Hmm.
We should start living on Rumble as well at some point.
Rumble. That would be cool. Taiwanese man sued by 15 Chinese for forced labor on illegal Navajo marijuana farm. You stopped in New
So,
Mexico? Yeah.
a Navajo businessman and Taiwanese entrepreneur are being sued by 15 Chinese immigrant workers for alleged forced labor on an illegal marijuana farm on Navajo land. So this was in 2023 though.
This was 2023, so darn.
Yeah, so it's been a year. I think this story is pretty interesting still, because it goes to that whole migrant situation where
Yeah.
people are being exploited and well exploited. Um, Not only have these marijuana farms have been subject to um, these actions in California, Maine, possibly every state in the country, but New Mexico is now, I think, in the spotlight of the collision of cartel culture and New Mexico society, or just in general, like over the border violence.
Hmm. I mean, it could be. I mean, if there is money to be made, if there is money to be made, there's always going to be like some shady practices going on, you know. And considering that, cannabis is an agricultural product, those sorts of sectors, like the primary sectors especially, they have a very strong tendency in the usage of undocumented people, like illegal immigrants, in order to like work those areas. You know, I've observed that here in Spain too. Like there is this river in more or less like the south of Catalonia called
Mhm.
El Ebro. That it's one of the things that it's most famous for is because of like the high amount of like rice plantations. But if you go to like the cities of like Ampolla or Ampola, it's in Catalan, one thing you'll notice a lot of like sub-Saharan Africans actually working and picking up like the rice grains, you know, and you can already guess that that is, back-breaking labor. You know for a fact they're probably getting paid like 200 euros a month, which is, yeah, that is
Horrible.
garbage, horrible, especially if you have to do it like under the blazing sun of the summer, you know, which can drive anyone mad. And that is really something like a lot like the developed economies have had this contradiction going on. You know, like there's this control of immigration, but at the same and there is this narrative of we need to like control for illegal immigration. You especially hear that from more like right wing parties, especially and especially as it's going in Europe with the recent victory of the AFD and also like a national renaissance in France. But at the same time, if you notice, like the agricultural sectors, many times that sector is actually being worked by people who actually come here illegally. And in reality, is uh, there's no other way to say it that the country in the whole actually benefit from that, as that leads to like a lower margin prices at the end for the consumer.
Yeah, yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm just getting my charger to make sure that it stays put. Um,
And cannabis is
no, I
not a
agree.
problem.
The whole do you, what do you see in this context? Like separate from the case that you mentioned in well, the example that you gave of Europe, where the sub-Saharan immigrant is working for little to no euros and is being exploited. Um, What do you see in this situation, in the sense of where you find Taiwanese business owners with Chinese immigrants being forced by the hand of Mexican cartels on U.S. soil?
Hmm.
Uh,
Are cartels also like involved in like in the cannabis industry?
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know if you heard the case where a California, it could have been a forest ranger. He stumbled upon cartel members planting marijuana in Northern Cali, and he got shot at. I think one of his partners got shot, and
Hmm.
so yeah, it's
Jesus.
yeah, but that's the silent war, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
the border war is a silent war.
yeah, yeah.
Have you heard about the installment of barber wire in Texas and New Mexico?
In between Texas and New Mexico.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, dude, it's so crazy, man. Let me
That
show
is.
you.
That sounds unconstitutional. That's the thing.
Watch. Let me show you. It's actually, I think the first set of barbed wire was set maybe a year ago,
Hmm.
but I think he might have mentioned that there just needs to be a bigger barrier. Let me share my screen. So Texas is in the news again over here.
They're always in the news, as part of like the central axis of the cultural war.
Yeah, they definitely could be if there was civil war, I think the capital would probably be in Texas or Florida.
Hmm. Okay, from my understanding is that over the years, Texas seems to be shifting towards the blue. Like every new election cycle, Democrats are actually gaining votes in the state, and that could be in part because of like the migration of like Californians going to Texas. That is
Yeah,
my understanding.
yeah, and also like Austin, the areas of Austin.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, no, I agree, man. I think there's gonna be a whole fuck up either way. Um, Let me see. I'm trying to share my screen real quick.
I mean, it does kind of make sense because if you're like a criminal organization, there we go. About the border barriers needed between New Mexico and Texas. Ryan crosses over New Mexico, then head to Texas. He wants to install racial wars similar to those in Eagle Pass. The governor says border crossings struck before Biden's reforms. Damn.
Yeah, so there's already actually razor wire on the border of New Mexico and Texas already.
But so what does that mean? Does that mean that, for example, that if you go, for example, in the highway between New Mexico and Texas, like you're gonna have like Texans police, like stopping you and checking if you have your ID or not?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. It just says that he plans to fence off the border between two states in Eagle Pass. It's part of Operation Lone Star.
Okay. So New Mexico
So
actually started doing this, and I guess that's more within like in the context of the Mexican border.
it's it's probably that. Let me see. It says Operation Lone Star is a joint operation between the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas Military Department along the United States-Mexico border in southern Texas. So yeah, I assume that that it is an operation for border security.
Okay, okay, that actually makes sense. You know.
Well, I think there's a lot of hate with Texas. Um, and just to be diplomatic over here, I'm not arguing for, right? I'm just being diplomatic.
Hmm.
But Mexico and Texas have always shared a marriage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, arguably, probably more so than California. That's arguable. But they've shared wars together. They've shared treaties together. They've had problems in the relationship. And New Mexico just is so quick to criticize instead of seeing the relationship through years, hundreds of years of context, right? New Mexico does not have the same relationship as Mexico, uh,
Yeah.
as Texas does with Mexico.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I respect it. I respect it. Like I get it, you know. And Mexicans love Texas. People that are from Latin America, Central America that immigrate, they love Texas.
yeah, I remember being to Austin, and I totally vibe with that city. I will say though that Texas and New Mexico, they do have like a lot like shared history. Like you go back to now, like back when they used to be part of like the Spanish kingdom, and that was called of like the El Virreinato de Nueva España. But after like the fall of the Spanish Empire and like the independence of both America and Mexico, it's actually interesting, like the story of Mexico, because Mexico, as you know, used to be a much bigger territory than it used to be.
Yeah,
Now, the most like common like version that you hear is that America stole Mexican land, and it's true. America being an empire in itself, they did actually have like a territorial expansion interest, like they ended up like taking away like Cuba and Puerto Rico from Spain. So obviously they also took advantage of attacking like Mexico. But also like part of the reason why that was so easy to do, it was because the Mexican Central Mexican government that had its center, uh, Mexico City, they had a lot of issues controlling northern Mexico. Like northern Mexico is to Mexico what Catalonia might be to Spain in some cases. Like it was like it had like this very like, but the difference is that northern Mexico, there was a lot like difficulty from like the Mexican army to actually like control the area,
yeah,
and like most of the population actually wanted to be separated from like the whole like dynamic from the central government.
the I think it's true. You know that there's might been instances we might disagree, you know, but I think there might have been instances that it was a robbery or maybe just chess, right? Just political chess.
I think, for example, like Pancho Villa, famous, within like the Mexican folklore. If I don't remember correctly, is that Pancho Villa actually like was chased by the Mexican army, but the Mexican army actually made the mistake of trespassing into American territory in order to chase him out. Pancho Villa does not care about borders, but Americans do. And that actually gave the Americans pretext, you know, they get complete whole pretext in order to like attack
Yeah,
and engage on like what was later on like the Mexican American War, out of which then we had like the Treaty of Guadalupe, in which we know how that ended.
yeah, yeah. I think Pancho Villa's raid into New Mexico and Columbus is a sign, a historical sign that repetitive violence can happen in New Mexico with Mexico. Um, I think it's pretty interesting that it's the border war is overlooked. We don't talk about it. It's probably a bigger issue than I would say. It's controversial, but it's probably a bigger issue for us than the wars, across the Atlantic.
Yeah, yeah.
With respect to y'all, I know you're across the. I know you love
No,
America's help. I know you love our helping hand.
no, yes, please keep spending military money, please.
Some of it gets to Spain, man.
Uh, I
Have you
mean,
rocket launchers found? Well, I don't know if they're rocket launchers, but they're some sort of weapon.
let me
Um,
actually turn on the lights of
oh
this
yeah,
living room
go
so
for it.
there's better illumination. Much better. It's been a cloudy day today. So
So I actually have another article to show you.
let's see.
Okay, so do you see it?
Long shot proposal. Secession. Man, that's funny. It's that Spanish blood, man. It's that Spanish blood in you, you know?
Well, it says a proposal filed by a Roswell Republican will take those divisions a step further by allowing counties to petition the legislator to actually secede from the states. The proposed constitutional amendment is filed by Senator Cliff Purtle, which I think he's actually pretty common in the community of Roswell.
Hmm.
But it's yeah, I mean it has to do with the whole response of COVID-19.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I just think it's interesting, that's a proposal for some counties to secede from New Mexico and go to Texas. Uh, it's it's ballsy. It's some cojones.
It's I've heard like similar situations in regards to like California and also the state of Oregon. And that is because there does tend to be a divide between like the rural and the urban when it comes to like policy making, you know rurals are more pro-gun. They were against like the lockdowns, the mass policies, all those other sort of stuff, and the urbans, they tend to be more like within like the more progressive wings of politics. And a lot of times, yeah, like the rural actually feels that they're being imposed like decisions from like the urban areas, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I argue, even though I live in Albuquerque, I argue that Santa Fe has such a strong grasp of the state, um, and it doesn't align with a lot of other places in New Mexico, that are more into the farm lifestyle, the cowboy lifestyle, the independent,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do our thing. So I think there's going to be that. I don't know when that was. That was years ago. That was like obviously during
yeah,
you know, a while back. But I still think that with election season coming up, all of these questions are being asked, and not just in New Mexico, they're being asked in España. They're being asked in Idaho. They're being asked in Cali. It's
yeah.
in Mexico. Chiapas is still are like fuck Mexico. We're Chiapas. We want to stay part of the jungle.
I mean, that, if you ask me, that is something that always happens in all democracies, because one side wins, then the losing side wants to like reform the system so they can benefit them. And it happens on like both sides of the political spectrum. Like every time a Democrat wins the presidency, you always hear in the news like Texas proposes bill to be able to like secede from the union. And then there's the other way around. I remember when Trump won the presidency, that was a stupid conversation. That California will also secede from the union. And it's just a political show at
Yeah,
the end.
yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, it's a political show until it's reality, right? It's a political show until it's reality TV.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you probably have the same sentiment, whenever you were over here. Like, you remember whenever you're in New Mexico, there was a little bit of clashing,
hmm.
but right now it's like it's getting harder and harder the clashing between these two
Yeah, yeah.
sides, sadly.
No, absolutely. These elections are completely like polarizing, and like both sides, they have like this Cain and Abel relationship in which, you know, one feels like it cannot live as long as the other one doesn't die, you know,
Yeah.
and there's no like idea of like a compromise.
Yeah.
And well, you just look at the history of Spain; it doesn't end up well, you know. And the whole concept of like secession is like, if for all of your viewers, I do recommend like this book called Spanish History for Skeptics. You know, it's an interesting book, yeah, because it's a book that it tries to tell like the whole history of Spain, all the way from like being a hunter-gatherer based region, to being part of the Roman Empire, being part of like the Phoenician trade systems, all the way to like its modern democracy. And one particular thing about like the Spanish system is that it's weird because technically in papers a central government in which the central government has all the say in regards to like the national law, but at the same time we have a heavily federalized system, in which we call them like the autonomous communities. At the beginning it actually started in order to like appease some like the separatist movements in Catalonia and also Euskadi, the Basque countries. But when that happened, the other states, they saw the benefits of that. And it's like, we also want a piece of the cake, you know.
Hmm.
And so that's why you have like the system of autonomous communities in which is country like Spain. And mind you, Spain is a small country.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can drive from Galicia to Valencia,
It is
you know,
small.
very small. You can drive in 9 hours, from one extreme to the other. Yet we have more than almost 25 autonomous communities. And each one of them, they have like, like their news stations, and obviously publicly subsidized. They have like their own regional political parties. They have like a bunch of like, what is it called? A lot of like city councils,
Mhm.
It's uh, like Google real quick for me. Like, how many city councils are there in New Mexico? Like, how many majors, for example?
How many? How many what?
City councilors, city councils in New Mexico. It shouldn't be a lot. It is a state of like what,
Well,
1 million to 2 million people.
just in Albuquerque alone, there's I see
Nine,
nine counselors.
nine city councils.
Yeah, in Albuquerque alone.
That's good because in one of our autonomous communities, Castilla-La Mancha, which has a population similar as that of whole New Mexico, there's 900.
Okay.
And you can already guess. You have 900 city councils, and each has their government, their majors, police systems, extremely decentralized, and all of them, charging a lot of exorbitant money. Like, there is a lot of wasteful spending going on. That's what I'm trying to get at. I believe that Spain actually,
Yeah.
just because of like the autonomous community system, Spain actually wastes around 10% of its GDP.
Just to see the map of Spain, like I see what you're saying because there's for such a small country that it is, there is quite a bit of districts or different regions.
A lot of bureaucracy. There's no like, for example, in regards to water, there's not like a national water company, but rather each autonomous community has like its own industry in regards to that, which in turn oftentimes leads to like unnecessary misunderstandings or lack of logistical agreements in between like these different autonomous communities, and also like creates like this sense of like differentiation in between the people, because one thing about like the Spanish people is that they are very Fratricida.
But what do you think Spain's role is right now in the geopolitical atmosphere? Like they don't. They
America's
used to
bitch.
be what?
America's bitch, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're either Russia's or America's bitch, right? Or China's.
No, America's. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pro-American. Yeah, for sure. Even Ecuador is pro-American. A lot of Spanish colonial, you know, regions are pro-U.S.
Well, not inherently. It a lot of times it also depends on like who is in charge at a given moment. You know.
Yeah. But the people in general would more likely be. Um, if there was a choice between the Russian government and the American government in Honduras, I'm pretty sure the personal sentiment would be first Honduras and then the Americans and fuck the Russians because World War
Yeah.
II. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I have um, I'm gonna share this page with you. I'm pretty sure you've already seen some of this stuff, but can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. It's on Instagram.
Yeah, there's this is OAF, and they do like pretty good headlines. I was wanting to go through them just to get some quick commentary and go through them real quick.
Awesome.
So, thousands line streets for funeral of American Israeli hostage killed in Gaza.
Yeah. No, this whole situation with Israel is a disaster.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I think it is pretty safe to say that the Israeli government has pretty much lost any sort of like face and legitimacy in front of like its population, if I may say
mm.
so. You know.
Are you? Do you think that the hostage situation is more or less political strategy or some sort of strategy? That's both governments are utilizing, or do you think which side has the most power when it comes to the hostages? Like Israeli intelligence or literally just Hamas?
I mean, if Hamas has the hostages at their hand, then they do have the power. But I think that have you ever heard of like the Hannibal doctrine?
Mm-mm.
I'm not sure if it's still part of like the policies within like the Israeli army, but it has been stated that, and it's been demonstrated that there's been this idea that in the event that an Israeli hostage is taken, the Israeli army should just kill the hostage because otherwise the hostage could actually be used as a bargaining chip, and especially heavily political bargaining chip because people want the hostage back, people want their citizens back. That's natural, and
I've heard of it.
Hamas could actually try to use the hostage in order to like liberate like their fellow fighters who are actually in prison by the Israelis.
Yeah. Um, yeah, very, very sad, very unfortunate.
And I may say so, I think that fundamentally speaking, the Israeli government does not really care about the hostages. You know, especially when you have literally the Ministry of Defense of Israel saying, we're not going to win this war. We're not going to end up destroying Hamas. This asymmetrical warfare, we just do not have the capacity to get rid of them, you know, and rather actually saying that it is better to like get a political negotiation with Hamas in order to like liberate the hostages.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think um, it's going to be a shame. What's going to happen to these hostages. Um, because back in the day, do you remember when the hostages were rescued in, I think, Iran, maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think they made a movie about it, Arga.
yeah, yeah. and there was always immense pressure to rescue hostages back in the day. Um, and I'm not trying to be all nostalgic, right? But I'm just saying that back in the day, there was raids to rescue. There was, you know, influence that you would leverage. There
Yeah,
was sacrifice on your government's part, and
yeah,
yeah, it's a shame. I don't think I'd like to be in a hostage situation in Israel, or in something that's more possible for us in Mexican cartels' hands.
yeah. Or the aliens. Yeah,
So, next one, it says U.S. voters targeted by Chinese influence online. Researchers say
yeah. I believe it. You know,
nothing new, nothing new.
nothing new. If you have like a open society where there's a democracy, foreign actors are always going to try to influence the outcomes in order to support like a candidate that they perceive to be more beneficial to their policies.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think that's rather whatever. Um, Here's another one. U.S. Oh, after the did you hear about the F-16 that? Well, I think that's what it's called, the F-16 pilot that crashed in Ukraine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, um, he was Ukrainian. Um, there's a lot of speculation. I don't know what's true or what's not. I don't know. But there's speculation that it was from an attack. It could have been error. It could have been friendly fire. Either way, U.S. to close on agreeing on long-range missiles for Ukraine, delivery to take months. And obviously, this is going to be used to strike Russia.
I mean, Ukraine is already striking Russia with Western weapons. That's the thing. They already crossed the line,
Yeah.
and Russia has yet to make any sort of retaliation for that. And to be honest, I think it's most likely that they just would not. Because at the same time, Russia has accepted weapons from countries like North Korea and Iran, and they've used them in Ukrainian territory. So they really also don't have any like leg to stand on in regards to that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I like I said, I'm neither nor here nor there. I know in our previous discussions you kind of see me. Oh, I could sound a little more pro-Russian.
And
Uh,
because you're pro-Russian, we both know you're a Putin agent, man.
but I love Ukraine. I've been to Ukraine twice. I love Ukraine. Um,
Yeah, you love it as a region of Russia, communist.
no, no, I love it I love it under the flag that it has. But what I'm
uh,
trying to say is that it makes sense that Russia is acting the way it is, even though it's hysterical, it's getting crazy, and they're being dramatic. It could be like that. But at the same time, they are a longer civilization than the United States.
hmm.
And what I'm trying to say is that United States is like that teenager that knows all, that wants to be in everything, involved in everything, go to every party, go to every sports game, everything. It wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah,
And Russia is like the old man in the distance wanting to sip his coffee, but there's fucking missiles pointed at him.
I mean, you already know like what my opinion is on the matter. If you threw the first stone, don't complain when you get a bunch of stones, a brick thrown at you.
Okay, moving on.
Turk.
Um, this is something that I kind of want to cover. Um, Burkina Faso massacre survivor says, "I saw horrible things as group denies targeting civilians." Have you heard what's going on in Burkina Faso?
To be honest, I'm the typical arrogant Eurocentric, you know. I just, don't pay that much attention to Africa, you know, except like in those situations that it benefits the colonial powers that I serve.
Yeah.
I'm fucking with
Um,
you, but
well, I was gonna agree. I was gonna be like, you know what? Fuck it. Is
you're you're not supposed to agree with me.
everyone is entitled to their opinion. So, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So, Burkina Faso is a country above Cote d'Ivoire, above Ivory Coast. And a couple days ago, around 200 people have been killed and 140 injured in the Burkinabe town of Barcelago. I'm gonna get these wrong. The latest in a long line of deadly attacks by an Al Qaeda linked armed group, Jama'at Nasrut al Islam wal Muslimi. God dang. Women and children
You pronounced it right.
among
You did a good job.
women and children were killed among those on Saturday.
Oh
Uh,
God.
yeah, dude, this was horrible. Like, um, I'll show you. Yeah, it's right here, Burkina Faso.
No, no,
I'll show
that's
you. Yeah, it's crazy, man. There's various coups that have been attempted. Like, it's just a place strife with war. You know, it's fucking. It's like Sudan.
no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if we should actually talk like about like all the possible like causes of all of that and the ramification that that brings, from like French colonialism, because the French actually did fuck up North Africa badly. The importations of weapons, especially from like the Cold War, there's like a bunch of like stashes of weapons in the region. I know that there's probably like arms trafficking going on,
Yeah.
and also,
Well, just to push back, just to push back a little bit, French colonialism has nothing to do with Islamic, uh, terrorism. Is that fair? Or a little
I
bit?
mean, I recommend people to watch this movie called like the Battle of Algiers because it actually talks about like the French occupation of Algeria. And if you actually know a little bit, like just read the Wikipedia article of what the French did in Algeria, and you'll notice that yeah, like the French did horrible things in there. Like it was near the levels of a genocide. They had concentration camps. It's possible that the Germans learned from them.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
The Germans learned from the Estonians and the Latvians.
yeah, really.
Yeah, the pogroms against Jews happened way before Nazi Germany did them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I have that video of, dude, check this out, man. This is wild.
I
Can you
mean,
see my
Jews have
screen?
always been targeted.
Do you see screen?
It's the Popular Front.
Yeah.
See,
So this is Burkina Faso.
hundreds returned.
Hundreds, after jihadists attack locals
Jeez.
digging trenches to protect the town.
Oh God. Yeah, that's true. So this was a jihadist attack.
This was a jihadist attack by that
Oh God.
by the
Okay.
group.
I thought it was like a warlord ethnic conflict, but Jesus.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it could be. I'm not really sure. What it is.
Although times they can be intermingled, but I mean we do know about like terrorist Islamic groups in North Africa. I mean we all remember like Boko Haram and like the kidnapping of the schoolgirls.
Yeah. Um, it says that um, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, so three countries, are enduring armed conflict and intercommunal violence amidst a decade-long insurgency driven by armed Islamist groups affiliated with Al Qaeda.
I do
So,
wonders who is supplying them the weapons. How are they
Um,
getting it? That's a good question to ask.
well, I'm a Google it right now, but I might not see anything. It says, "Oh, sheesh, do you see my screen?"
Yeah, I can see you, and I can see the screen.
Okay. Do you see that Russia will send additional military supplies and instructors to Burkina Faso?
Um, I think that right now your screen is actually frozen over the Instagram popular front. Actually, wait, move your mouse. I don't see it. Yeah.
Okay, let me do this. Let me do this. Dude, this is trippy. Okay, can you see now?
Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah. From my understanding, is that the Wagner Group was actually present in the area, and is that after like there was the I think the coup was also happening in Burkina Faso, the French pretty much lost control of their influence in the region. And now the Russians are actually like trying to set a foothold in it.
Hmm. That it says, yeah. It says that they sent the weapons to boost its defense capabilities and fight terrorism.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah,
And
it
and
was.
paradoxically, interestingly, I think that for in Mali, the Wagner Group was actually ambushed by teams that were actually sent by Ukraine that were actually working with jihadist group. Fact check on that. Fact check me on that. You know, I don't want to say anything that is false, but
Okay, what would you say?
in Mali, I believe that the Wagner Group was actually ambushed by an expeditionary force of both Ukrainians who were working with jihadist groups.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Mercenaries killed in rebel ambush. God. Oh man, yeah, I remember this news. Wagner Group set back in Mali because they've been working with the new Mali government that
Hmm.
got power after a coup, and like the Russians want a foothold in the region at the expense of the French. But it seems like the Ukrainians now are also in the territory. So now they're kind of like fighting a proxy war in North Africa.
I see. Um, yeah, I don't see anything. It says Al Qaeda branch said it killed 50 Russian missionaries. Does
Search the word
uh,
Ukraine.
Ukraine?
Yeah, Ukraine.
Ukraine behind ambush Wagner Mali.
Mali cuts diplomatic ties with Ukraine over Wagner attack.
Kiev has been accused of helping plan an ambush on Malian soldiers and the. Oh yeah, okay, this one's it.
What accused? But let's see. Let's see if there's like tangible evidence.
Okay. It says Mali says it has cut diplomatic relations with Ukraine after a military official suggested Kiev had played a role in deadly fighting near the Algerian border last month. Dozens of Malian soldiers and mercenaries from Russia's Wagner group were killed in days of clashes. Um, so yeah, it says his Malian official said his government was shocked to hear the claim and accused Ukraine of violating Mali's sovereignty.
Hmm.
Admitted Ukraine's involvement in a cowardly, treacherous, and barbaric attack by armed terrorist group that led to the death of Malian soldiers.
Darn.
So yeah, man, that is wild. That is wild. I did
No, it
not
was
know.
actually well. That's what the Malian government is actually claiming. But I actually want to see like what does Ukraine have to say. I think Ukraine is denying it, but I will need to see what are the evidence to actually shows that Ukraine was actually in the region. Because why would Ukraine be in that region when they're already like completely busy and their hands full and like defending their own country?
Well, well, Intelli News says that Ukraine claims it was behind massacre of Wagner Group missionaries in Mali.
Are they okay? Oh fuck. Well, there you
Um,
go.
yeah, it's well, that's kind of interesting. That is proxy as fuck. You know?
Very impressive. And there's like three different like parties, because you have like the Tuareg separatist movements, which is kind of like similar to like Kurdistan, which is like an ethnic group in North Africa that got split up while there was the whole decolonization process. You have the jihadists, and now you have the Ukrainians. You know, this is an intersectionality nightmare.
Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, um, there's what like 100, over 100, maybe 140 active wars right now, active conflicts,
Yeah, yeah.
and dude, it's so crazy that like 200 to 400 people were just massacred, like
Yeah,
nothing.
I know, I know.
No UN, no nothing, no police. It
It
shows
is.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like I remember like for when Boko Haram for kidnapped the girls
yeah.
in in
Nigeria,
Nigeria.
maybe?
In Nigeria, it was in Nigeria. That was international news. You know, like Michelle Obama was posing with a picture saying like "Free our girls." You know, the first lady of the United States. You know, but the reality is that this is something that happens in Africa very often.
Mhm.
You know, and that's part of it is outsider interference in Africa. We both know Africa is a resource-rich continent, so it is natural that other countries are actually very interested in the area. But also part of it, I need to also point out is that Africa, its cultures and although like its ethnic differences, also like lend itself towards like such you know warlords, cultigismus activities.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's interesting that these groups I think can be what I think these groups are going to have a resurgence not only in Africa, in the Middle East, but in Europe
Mhm.
now and
Yeah,
America now. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a shame.
yeah. Which groups are you talking about?
Uh, just uh, just jihadist groups.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, they can be in sleeper cells and they can turn on the switch at any point.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And I think a interesting conflict might be the jihadists and the cartels. They, they might they might have we need to start proxying those fuckers, you know,
Worse, they join forces.
or worse, they join forces.
The power of Allah and cocaine coming together.
That's a strong force.
Yeah, man.
Um,
We're off to a bad awakening, man. They can do 9/11 10 times over with that much cocaine.
yo, man. So I wanted to show you some another video. Um, this is gonna be kind of off topic, you know, but I just kind of want to get your honest opinion about it.
Let's go.
Uh, I'm gonna share the screen. Share. Okay. This one.
I don't see the screen.
Russian army have released a statement denouncing the use of violence
506-го полка 2-го мотострелкового батальона.
violence and extortion
Хотели
by the
бы
battalion commander.
записать обращение в связи
The man stated that the
с
salary
нарушением
cards of dead
должностных
soldiers have
полномочий
also
нашего
been
командира
stolen.
батальона Воскобоева Сергея Игоревича в звании и его ближайшего заместителя командира батальона Смолякова.
These guys are Russian looking as fuck.
Злоупотребление служебными
You
полномочиями
can sense the misery.
солдат, денег, снятие наличных
Yeah, look at this guy, dude.
средств с карты 200-х наших
He seems
товарищей,
like he's so done with his shit.
погибших на полях сражений.
Bro, it looks like this guy is fighting his sixth war.
Справедливости. Я командир отделения взвода ПТУР 2-го
That
мотострелкового
is wild,
батальона
man.
Сергей
Like
Николаевич.
Я командир
they're taking the salary cards of dead soldiers.
Jesus.
That's why we need Bitcoin, you know?
Nah, bro. You could use Bitcoin to like pay off those guys, you know, so they can help in whatever geopolitical objective you have. Hire them to fight the
They're not gonna
cartels.
take your salary card. They're not gonna steal your salary card, bro.
For what? Fucking rubles? How much is that shit worth anymore?
Hey man, it's still worth a lot.
I don't think
Rubles
so.
are worth something. They're definitely not like fucking soles or bolivares.
Bro, in Venezuela, people don't use bolivars anymore.
What is it, dólares?
Dollar is now. Yeah, pretty much like there's been like an informal dollarization in the country because there was no other option.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
So there has been gunfight between military men, gunmen, in Mexico. These past few days, man, I've been seeing the craziest news about like
Oh god.
militias. This one's from May, but this is about a kidnapping in Chiapas.
Jeez.
Did you hear about the American citizen that was killed in Mexico not too long ago?
No, man. To be honest, I don't know much about the Mexican situation.
Bro, this one was wild, man. I could not believe this.
That's weird. Man.
Okay, so 2 women were killed on August 23rd after gunmen attempted to steal the vehicle while traveling along the Caborca Highway.
Jesus.
Yeah. And bro, one of them, I believe, was an American citizen.
Oh god.
And what that doesn't say much, right? But at the same time, that says a lot, right?
I know. No, it's curious. Like this is not covered by it, you know? And it's that what do you do? Like what is the solution to that? You know, like do you do like a mano dura like Bukele did? A cooperation between the Mexican and the American army to finally bring order to that region? Or do you like find a way to like institutionalize and legitimize the cartels? You know?
Well, you can legitimize their business, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that we're talking about like the decriminalization of like cocaine and other drugs, but I'm not sure that's also the solution. You know?
Yeah, it might just be inherent, right? Like, even if they are legitimized, maybe that culture is just inherently violent. And, avocados have become blood. It's not
Really?
just cocaine, it's avocados, yeah.
Darn.
Yeah, and also pecans. There's people in Mexico, cartels fight for pecan orchards. They fight for avocado. Uh, you know,
And then at this point, this is not only about drugs. This is like warlords situations. Then, and if that's the case, man, it's like the only solution to that is like mobilize the American and the Mexican army, do a joint operation, and just go for it. Normalize the region.
do,
But
do you support Dan Crenshaw's view?
the thing is, I am conflicted, if I'm honest. A part of me, like I support like drug legalization altogether. Fundamentally, I don't think that, for example, cocaine is actually that bad, if you ask me. And for example, within the context of like cannabis legalization in the United States, it's that the idea is that you legalize cannabis, and then you have like a legal leeway, like a legal route for which then like people who engage on the drug market illegally, they can actually like leave the black market, leave the inherent violence of the black market, so that they can actually become adapted within like the society, like become that which is out of the margin of society, just extend the margin,
Hmm.
you know.
The Yeah, yeah. Me personally, I am for a joint operation. With U.S. military and Mexican military.
Yeah,
Um, I think that's going to be a level of corruption that's going to be interesting.
but then you actually hear like news, for example, like the case of like the mother and her daughter who tried to illegally migrate to the United States, and they were kidnapped by the cartels, and they were both gang raped by their members of the cartel. And it's that, well, fuck that shit. I don't want to normalize that. I don't want those people to actually have any sort of like legal leeway. I want them dead, or I want
Yeah,
them rotting behind the cell.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. They might also operate on that, as well. Like you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
I am. I think the cartel situation, or like the whole border war, the whole drug war. Like I don't know what to call it. What would you call it? Mexican American war?
Because I want to say like war on drugs, that this is still like the war on drugs going on, which is an outdated policy. You know, and I think everyone agrees the war on drugs has been like complete failure, and
Has it
actually done. It has completely, like it's been demonstrated. It
is
actually
is it
into
a is it still ongoing, or has it stopped the drug war?
it's still going, man. Like if you look, for example, at the context of Mexico, the DEA's operations, FBI operations in the border, you know, the reality of the matter is that I just think that there's kind of a sunk cost fallacy going on too, because America has also already invested so much money in this warfare, in like this policy, that I guess it's just kind of politically embarrassing to admit that we fucked up,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah,
But
no, you're right. You're right.
I will say, for example, like that there needs to be also like a distinction. It's like I think that if you sell drugs, you're not inherently a bad person, you know. But the problem is like the externalities of violence that you have in regards to like the underground world, in which it's a dog eat dog world, in which you have to like create like a reputation for yourself and increase your status, and the only way to do so is through violence, many times senseless violence, in order to like survive in such a dangerous world.
It, it's true, man. That life over there, or that life is different than our perceived notion of what life is and how society should behave.
Yeah.
There was, I don't know if it was, she was from Guatemala or I don't know which country,
Hmm.
but they asked her, right? They're like, I don't know if it was reporters or interviewers, I don't know what it was, but they asked her, they're like, who do you trust more when you did this trek to the United States? She said, I trusted the Border Patrol agent the most. The American. Makes sense. Honestly, makes sense.
Makes sense. You
Makes
know
sense.
what you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Second one was like individuals, like the public, right?
Hmm.
Third one was cartels, and the last was Mexican police.
That's the other thing. Like Mexico is an extremely corrupt country. You know,
Bro, the bottom two were Mexican cartels and Mexican police, man.
I know, man. I mean, I would say that they're both at this point like they're both the same. You know,
Yeah,
or at least like not all Mexican police, but you can definitely say that the cartels have definitely infiltrated like levels of politics. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Mexico has that unique thing about its country where other countries, are ran on, you know, mass surveillance and mass control, like North Korea.
Hmm.
Some it's oil in the Middle East, some it's war over in the United States, and Mexico, cocaine, or not cocaine, but drugs.
Drugs, yeah. The good kind is more like Colombia and Venezuela. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bolivia. I was gonna show you this, man. Um, Let me show you this other tab that I have.
Like I just want to say that there is not one single solution, and usually like it is a little bit of both. You know, I think that for example, like there needs to be like a drug reform in regards to like decriminalization and like being able to like grant like legitimization of business for a lot like this like organized crime groups. You know, but at the
Hmm.
same time, there does need to be like an involvement of law enforcement in order to make sure that this actually goes on. And it does seem to me that the only way that this will actually be fixed if both Mexico and the United States actually work together to fix it, as opposed to have like this dynamic of like being adversaries, this
Yeah,
dynamic of distrusting each other.
yeah. Essentially, Mexico should be Israel. Like literally, bro, it would make sense that like our diplomatic relationship with Mexico is more like Israel. Instead of just giving Israel all the support, we should just support Mexico like a lot. Like honestly, dude, it's our biggest trading partner. They surpassed China and Canada. What the fuck? Well, anyways,
Wait. Oh
cocaine.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Colombia, the world's biggest cocaine producer, set a new record last year for the manufacture of the drug and cultivation of the coca leaf. So it remains the highest, and not only did it remain the highest, but they set a new record.
Yep. I mean, yeah, like you do cocaine, you have some of it, it gives you energy, so you can make more of it. You know, it's a snowball effect.
Yeah. Even the Mexican president said that the war on drugs was a failed effort.
It was.
Um, who is he to say, kind of?
No, like everyone agrees on that. It did not
I
work.
It did not work. No.
No, it did not work. The drugs won, man. The drugs won, and it was not even close.
Yeah, the consumerism aspects definitely beats policy for sure.
Absolutely. You know,
Um,
like this is where you also say like like jailing someone for like drug possession doesn't make sense neither. It's like all you can really do is harm reduction at the end of the day. It's like, listen, you're a free man, you're a free individual, you can do with your body whatever you want, you know, but this is what happens when you take this stuff, and if you're gonna do it, you should take it like this and this and this, and you should take like the steps so that if you ever use this stuff, nothing bad, like whatever negative effects, it does not become unbearable,
yeah,
and like reduce the chances like overdose or like taking like decisions that might actually ruin your life. You know, which is more like the approach that countries like the Netherlands and Switzerland actually took. And you actually observe the data, it did lead to actually like a reduce in drug consumption and addiction.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's there's something interesting that's going on with the war on drugs or the drug war.
Hmm.
Uh, it's not like any other war, um, but yet it can be like there's not going to be no nuclear bomb dropped because of the drug war.
Why not?
I, you'll probably miss. You'll probably miss. What are you going to hit? One meth house?
One nuclear bomb per meth house. Let's do it.
It's
We'll create a radiation wall between America and Mexico.
yeah, yeah, man. Have you like? I'm not trying to be
Um,
conspiratorial. Well, go for it.
it's like one last example. Just look at the listen. If you ask me, like, what is a terrible drug? Alcohol. Like alcohol is literally a poison. You know,
Yeah.
but it's really just part of our society. It's completely normalized here in Europe. You see like people like 1 p.m. drinking a beer in the cafes. It's just
Mhm.
normal.
Yeah.
It's because American policy in regards to like I think it was the 18th Amendment. I don't remember, but the prohibition.
Mhm.
We know what happened. We know what happened.
Yeah.
Violence skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Criminal organizations became stronger, and institutions became more corrupt.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. The overreach. Whenever you overreach and use bureaucracy to control products or consumerism, like it just goes south. It just that's why I believe like managing the cartel market would probably like, dude, imagine if the cartel had their own ticker on the stock market. Like, it's like, dude, it's possible, and it might decrease violence um, to make them legitimate and to put labels on the product and put a scan code and normalize that because it's better to normalize that shit than to fucking have your body, you know, to have yourself killed.
and most of the cartels will accept that. Because fundamentally speaking, the objective of the mafia is not to commit crimes. The objective of the mafia is to make money. They don't care how; they just want to make money.
Yeah.
And if they can find a way to make money legally, they'll do it because there's a lot less risk associated with that. They'll accept that.
Mm.
Like it is a very easy sell for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just feels that the pharmaceutical side of corporatism not only is allied with Mexican cartel and Chinese manufacturers, but they're also in competition with them as well.
Yeah,
Um, Pedro, I think this has been a good interview.
yeah.
Um,
I yes. Sorry, today was not as energetic as before. Just I only had like 3 hours of sleep last night, so it is
no,
like 7 p.m. right now. So after this, I'm gonna take a shower and just go to sleep.
no worries, man. Thanks for hopping on. Um, for those that are watching, we're ending our interview, and I'm just gonna have some words with Pedro. Thank you all for watching, and I know there's very few viewers, but there's been a few people that have watched ours. Um, our last interview, it was like maybe 15, 17.
Oh, hey man, we gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. So I think it's going good though, man. Like I think if we keep this up and maybe do some like different things, uh, we can get more views. So I appreciate, man. I appreciate that you're doing this, and I think this one was pretty good, because we use a little bit of tabs and all that.
Yeah, yeah. I wish we could do like a podcast like face to face.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a lot smoother. But I'll be more down the future. I'll probably end up visiting America. You come here to Spain.
Yeah, man. An in-person podcast will definitely happen for sure, and maybe even someday we can take a camera and just go do some journalism on our own. Independent.
Why not? Let's go to Ukraine. Let's go to Mexico.
Let's go to Mexico. Yeah. Fucking good.
I just have to wear like a Dragon Ball Z T-shirt, and they will not touch me.
Yeah, man. So, right, man. Well, I guess I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Peace.
It was nice having you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.